right, everybody. Here we go on another Wave Weather Alert day. Hi there, Carson Meredith with you from the Wave Now Studios. Time now 7:17 on this Sunday night, July 20th, and we've got a lot to talk about as we continue to monitor strong storms, severe storms, in fact, moving in to our northern counties as we speak. In fact, a new severe thunderstorm watch has just been issued for parts of Wave Country. I'll show you that map here in a second. I just want to say right out the gate, here in the metro and across most of the region, we're fine right now. We're in good shape. And by and large, the severe weather threat tonight's still on the lower end for us, but obviously it's not zero. But here in the metro, we're in good shape. A lot of you guys today have just been dealing with this heat, right? Whew. I think that heat index peaked around 102 this afternoon in Louisville. Right now, the actual temperature is 91, feels like 98. And that's really kind of helping to set the stage for our potential for strong to severe storms this evening. So here's the new severe thunderstorm watch that was just issued right as I was setting up our stream here on Wave Weather Now tonight. That severe thunderstorm watch covers all of our Indiana counties with the exception of Perry. So if you live in Kentucky, you are not under a severe thunderstorm watch. That includes Louisville, not under a watch in Louisville. All of our Indiana counties except Perry, Indiana, is under a severe thunderstorm watch. That is with us until 1 a.m. Eastern Time. And the main concern on the severe side of this system has always been damaging wind gust. As these big clusters congeal, they start off as individual cells and they come together. As they come together, they sometimes pack a lot of wind with them. And that's what we're going to be watching here for the next few hours, it appears, until at least 1 o'clock in the morning, right? So again, that's the new severe thunderstorm watch just issued within the last 5 to 10 minutes. It includes all of our Indiana counties with the exception of Perry, Indiana. Let's go to radar. And we'll show you the situation as it stands. You notice, you might notice at least, at the top of the screen, yes, that is a red polygon. That is a tornado warning for the northern Kentucky suburbs of Cincinnati. And you know, we've been focused on the damaging wind threat with this system. But that's once all these storms come together. Before they come together, they're cells by themselves. They like to spin a little bit. And that's what's happened, at least with that particular storm up near Cincinnati. I'll zoom in on that in just a second. But big picture, the only activity we have in our coverage area right now is this one lone thunderstorm in Jennings County, up near North Vernon, right on top of North Vernon. DJ King, where you at, man? Bet you guys are getting hit with a good burst of heavy rain, maybe a little wind as well with this storm, which is not severe, by the way. This storm in Jennings County, Indiana, not severe. Check the velocities on it. Yeah, there's a little burst of wind that might be trying to develop. It's nothing too impressive. 8 miles an hour. So, not really looking at any wind with that storm just yet. But I will say these storms did intensify a little quickly earlier this evening, about an hour ago, and here we are. I'll get to the storms in Illinois in a minute because that's what's going to be our problem tonight. But since a lot of you are probably interested, I'll zoom in on this tornado warning for northern Kentucky. This is for Boone and Kenton County, if you're familiar with that part of the state. Possible tornado near Hebron, close to the airport, a couple miles north of the airport. Florence is in this warning, basically all the way up to the Ohio River in northern Kentucky. I don't think Hamilton County, Ohio is in the warning. But this cell has kind of become a little miniature supercell over the last half hour. And the Weather Service out of Wilmington, Ohio, decided to be on the cautious side. Just looking at Weather Service chat. They haven't got any reports with that storm from what I can tell. But nonetheless, the tornado threat's pretty low tonight. It's very low. It's around 2%. So we will monitor it just to be sure, but my main issue, quite honestly, all night tonight, guys, is going to be flooding. But these storms may also be severe as they move into our area over the next few hours. So here's the big picture view again. We've got this one non-severe storm in Jennings County. That will be tracking into Jefferson County, Indiana over the next 15 to 30 minutes. So if you're in Madison and if you're in the northern parts of Jefferson County, Indiana, heads up, heavy rain, good bit of lightning, and maybe 20, 30 mile per hour wind gusts with that storm. Maybe getting closer to DuPont, Canaan over the next half hour. I don't think this will be a huge concern for Madison. This is the area that we will be focusing on incredibly closely tonight, is this cluster of thunderstorms that is out across eastern Illinois. And there you see the information, severe thunderstorm warnings for several counties in eastern Illinois with a tornado possible tag. Again, I do think that tornado threat will decrease as these storms move into our area tonight. But these storms continue to intensify, they continue to organize, and as they do so, they will still carry that threat for gusty winds as they move into our southern Indiana counties that we cover here in Wave Country. And that's why we have that severe thunderstorm watch that is now in effect for most of our Indiana counties as well. And you can kind of see where these storms are heading. They're diving south and east. I would expect these to be in Lawrence County, Orange County, and Du Bois County close to 9 o'clock Eastern time. 8:30, 9 o'clock looks to be the window when that big cluster of storms you see right there starts to move into our area. Now, if you look closely, you also notice additional thunderstorms firing up near Nashville, Indiana. Right here. We'll have to watch these because they're going to dive in towards Seymour, towards possibly Bedford along Highway 50, also in the next 30 minutes or so. So you guys know on busy nights like this, I like to just kind of hang out here on the live stream on the digital side of things and watch these storms as they roll through. We don't want to interrupt TV for folks who are still watching shows on Wave, unless we absolutely have to. So we'll just keep it right here on the live stream, and we'll babysit these storms as we go through this evening. Let's go to the comments. There's already 600 of you watching on our social media platforms, not even factoring in all of you watching on the Wave News app or on the Wave Weather app. A lot of folks saying hello. Crispy Brisket, the usual folks. Anita says hi, 65 days till fall. Thank you for the motivation, Anita. I've needed that this weekend. Albert says hello, saying hello to Crispy and the crew over on YouTube. Angela says hi, the heat index is brutal. Yeah, and that's a big reason why it's so unstable in the atmosphere tonight, and that's why we've got these storms rolling in. It's horrible out there. There's DJ King up there in North Vernon with that heavy downpour rolling in. A lot of folks saying hey. And for those of you, by the way, that are watching on our live streams, in other words, if you're watching on the Wave News app or the Wave Weather app or on wave3.com, you won't be able to comment or ask any questions. We're still working on that. We'll get there. But you can only watch the stream on our website and on the news and weather apps. If you want to ask a question, a weather-related question, preferably, go to your Facebook page, go to our Facebook page or Twitter or YouTube, wherever it might be watching, and type up that question. I can see it right here. But if you don't have any questions, you just want to hang out and listen to the conversation, feel free to just hang on by. The National Weather Service in Wilmington, Ohio says with this tornado warned storm near Covington and Florence, they are getting a few funnel cloud reports. No touchdowns yet, but a few funnel clouds with this tornado warned storm right on the Ohio River, right over Cincinnati, You see the warning information there for Boone and Kenton counties. Right there in the highly populated suburbs, of course, of Cincinnati, over 200,000 people in that warning alone. And again, as we've said several times already, the tornado threat is pretty low tonight here at home. It's not zero. So we kind of need to watch it, kind of keep it in the back of our minds. But it's not the main issue tonight. The main issue is going to be damaging winds at first, as we're seeing right now. And then all of this is going to transition away from a damaging wind threat, especially once we get past sunset, and it will turn into a heavy rain and flooding threat. And both of those factors are why we added the alert day for tonight and throughout the day on Monday. Because it's not just these storms that you're seeing here. It's also additional clusters of storms that will try to develop as the night goes on. And will train, like trains on a track, over the same spots over and over and over and over again. And that's what's going to cause the risk for flooding. Not everybody sees flooding tonight, but if you do see flooding, it could be significant. So that's why we have the alert days in place. Spotter at Covington, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Airport says he's got a rotating wall cloud, but nothing from it. In other words, no funnel clouds or tornado touchdowns. There's a wall cloud, it's spinning, but nothing is extending out of that wall cloud with that tornado warned storm at the moment, but we'll keep watching it. So there's that at this stage of the game. Let me look through a couple questions. So if I pause, that's why I'm just looking at reports or questions that you guys might have. Let's see here. There's so many comments because there's so many of you guys watching, which is a good problem to have. We appreciate you all tuning in. Let's see, there's first question. Crispy, what should you do if a flash flood warning is issued? They say not to drive. They also say immediately get to higher ground, which is recommended. Well, this is going to sound like a cop-out answer, Crispy, and I don't want it to sound that way, but it truly depends. It depends on your exact situation. Let's say you're driving down the road, you get the flash flood warning, it's pouring rain, you can't really see. You get that flash flood warning. Kind of do a check of your surroundings, right? If you're stuck out on the roads when a flash flood warning comes out, you know, if the roads are still okay, tread lightly, but get to where you need to be. And obviously, if you get to a flooded road, go back the other way. As far as getting to higher ground, a lot of times that's for folks who live in a low-lying area anyway, a flood-prone area, near a creek, near a river, something like that. And that's kind of warning those folks to get to higher ground. You know, if your house is up on a little bit of a hill or if it's on top of a mountain or anything like that, you don't really have to worry about getting to higher ground because you're already high enough up to not worry about flooding. So the biggest concern is, you know, if you're driving, make sure you just kind of have extra situational awareness. But as far as getting to higher ground, they tell you not to drive. You would want to probably just get to higher ground because, like I said, that's usually for folks who are already in a low-lying area. And by that point, when you're getting flash flooding, it's too late to escape by car. So you got to go higher, right? So hope that makes sense. Crystal, which way are these storms moving? They are all moving southeast tonight. They're moving like this, okay? Now, they're moving at a good clip for now. They're moving at about 35, 40 miles an hour, I believe. But as the night goes on, again, you're going to have more storms building over the same spots. So the storm motions might limit flooding, But the fact that you could see 2, 3, maybe 4 rounds of heavy rain, that's when you get into trouble. And that's really the big flooding concern through this evening and overnight tonight. Looks like the tornado warning has been dropped for Cincinnati, or for northern Kentucky, rather. So that's good. Let's zoom out further west and see, this is exactly what I'm talking about, guys. So you had this initial cluster of storms that we were talking about near Terre Haute. Now you've got more storms building in further west in Illinois, getting a little closer to St. Louis. And all of these are going basically down the same southeast path. So I do think we will have some flash flooding in wave country tonight. Is it going to be everywhere? Are we all going to see flash flooding? Not necessarily. Some of you are only going to get maybe a ½ inch of rain out of this whole ordeal tonight and tomorrow morning. But some of you could see 2 to 4 inches of rain. And if you see multiple storm clusters like this, we could easily see a couple spots pick up closer to 6 inches of rain as the night goes on. So that's why we're here. That's why the alert day is in place, to give you that first alert that that risk is there for flooding and perhaps some damaging wind gusts as we go through the night tonight. I should also mention, as I always do on these active nights on my live stream, if there is a rogue tornado warning, I would have to move out of this studio and go into the main studio, because I have more resources that I can work with over there as opposed to in here. So if that were to happen, then this stream would go quiet for a minute, and probably maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then it'll come right back up with me in the other studio. So you don't have to go anywhere if a tornado warning is issued tonight. Just giving you that heads up if it were to happen. Hopefully it doesn't. All right, back to the comments. And again, this is a more slow-paced chat tonight, guys. So I'm just kind of babysitting these storms with you all, making sure they behave as they move in. Jocelyn, when are these storms supposed to hit? That's a good question. Let's go to Futurecast real quick while we have a moment, and I will show you how these storms are going to play out tonight. I will tell you, I think the models are doing a decent job with storm location and things like that, but they are a little slow. And that's not unheard of. That actually happens a lot. So as we go through this evening, there you see that big cluster of storms that I've been talking about in Illinois moving into northwest parts of our area. Lawrence County, Indiana, Orange County, Paoli, French Lick, Bedford, Seymour, Jasper. You guys are going to see these storms first, and we could see those storms as soon as 8:30, 9 o'clock, that big cluster especially. And as the night goes on, those storms will just keep on rolling south and east. They should continue to weaken from a damaging wind perspective. But we're going to shift from a wind threat to a heavy rain and flooding threat. You notice, even though these storms do weaken on the wind side, they're still going to be dropping tons of rain. I think here in Louisville, we'll start to see those storm chances go up around 11 p.m. or midnight. And then once the storms are here, they're here through the night and maybe close to sunrise tomorrow morning. So, and you notice it's just multiple clusters of storms. Just as one moves out, another moves in. Just as the second one moves out, a third one moves in. And that's where that flooding risk is going to come into play overnight tonight into early Monday. Now, the good news I can give you is Monday afternoon is trending a lot drier. And that makes sense because we're going to be worked over from all of the rain and storms we have early in the day. But as we get into the afternoon tomorrow, you notice some of those storms start to fire back up. These would be more of the scattered storms Monday afternoon that might cause some minor flooding, but nothing overly widespread. So the main flooding issues are going to be tonight and early Monday morning. And even if you're not seeing flooding tonight, the Monday morning commute is going to be an absolute mess. So plan on an extra 15, maybe 20 minutes getting to work in the morning. They've reissued that tornado warning for Covington, so let's take a look at that again, because we're still waiting on stronger storms to move into our area. So this tornado warning is now for Boone, Kenton, and Campbell counties, so it factors in all three of the counties in the northern tip of the state. It goes until 8 o'clock. There's obviously still some rotation with it, but there haven't been any touchdowns so far, which is a good thing. So we'll keep answering some questions here. Cameron, hello, hello. How many more days of this rainy pattern? And if it's dry, how long it's going to last? Honestly, looking over the data tonight, it looks as if tomorrow is going to be the last day of this crazy rainy weather pattern. Tuesday is trending much, much drier. And it looks like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday look mostly dry. You know, as I've said, I am not somebody who ever likes to put in a 0% rain chance in the summer, because it's always hot, it's always humid, and there's always that chance for a random downpour to pop up. But I really think Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, a lot of us stay dry, just a 10 or 20% chance on any given day. So once we get through tonight and tomorrow, I think we get a few days to rest, if you will. We also get a few days to bake in the heat, thanks to the lower storm chances too. Austin, could the severe thunderstorm watch be expanded to include Louisville? It could. I'm not saying it will be, but it could. It depends on how long these storms can hold their momentum, how long they can keep their steam. If they continue to weaken, probably not. I wouldn't expect that watch to be extended, but if they can hold their strength, then yeah, I can certainly see Louisville getting added to the watch. But right now, it's more of an Indiana issue at this stage of the game. Margaret says hello from Lebanon. Teresa on YouTube, hello, hello. It was brutally hot in Madison today. Even at the pool, it was unbearable. That's when you know it's miserable out there, right? You're by the pool, you're trying to stay cool, and you can't because it's so doggone miserable out there, right? Let's see here. Danielle asked about Louisville. Will we get hit hard tonight? Well, it depends on what your definition of getting hit hard is. I think for Louisville, the biggest issue is going to be the flooding risk, especially when you consider that Louisville is not the best place when it comes to drainage because there's so many people in a small space. So I think the biggest issue for the Metro is going to be heavy rain and flooding. Could there be severe wind? Yes, there could be. I just believe that wind threat is higher in Indiana compared to here in the city. As far as timing, I mentioned a moment ago, I know I'm kind of behind on the comments here, but I'm thinking 11 p.m. to midnight is when those storms will start to arrive in Louisville, based on the latest data. Let's see. Jessica, is there lightning with these storms? Yes. Look at the lightning count there at the top of the radar. You might not be able to see it. It's small print. I'll take it full screen. 1,166 lightning strikes on this map. That is a lot of lightning, my friends. That is a ton of lightning. My goodness. And these storms will stay quite electric as the night goes on. Be a pretty loud night for sure. Let's see. Kelly's wanting to know about the flooding along the Ohio River. And of course, Madison, where Kelly's at, had all that horrific flooding back in April. And absolutely, with any kind of family, all of our family and friends, we want to make sure we're ready. But I will tell you that this kind of flooding threat is not necessarily a river flooding issue. It's a flash flooding issue. So the difference is flash flooding, it's flash, it's quick, it happens quick. But it happens quick and then it goes away quick most of the time. River flooding, as you well know, Kelly, rivers climb slowly but steadily, and then they drop slowly and steadily. Flash flooding happens just like that. But that also means the water goes back down pretty quick. And flash flooding typically does not involve big areas. It's more concentrated, and that's kind of what we've been talking about tonight. Not everybody's going to see this flash flooding, but some will, and it could be significant later on tonight. So as far as the Ohio itself, because the Ohio is an older river, it's a larger river, it's going to be able to handle this rain fine. No problems at all. This is not necessarily a river flooding concern, thankfully. Let's see. Ben asking about the heat. Do you think we could see extreme heat warnings this week or come up short? It's close. It's a close call. I do think we'll likely just see heat advisories instead of extreme heat warnings, personally. The heat, it's going to be a lot like today was, to be honest with you. Highs in the mid-90s. The actual temperatures will be a few degrees warmer, but the heat index will still peak around 105 each day. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday look to be the hottest days this week. So if you're looking for heat advisories, I think those 3 days will very likely have them down the road. Let's see. Angela has the question we all want to know. When is a good, strong cold front going to move through here and get rid of this rain and this heat and humidity? Well, it's hard to say. We are going to have a front move through our area tomorrow and into Tuesday. That's the big reason why we're going to shut down this stormy pattern once we get past tomorrow night. The problem is it's not one of these big-time strong fronts that are going to sweep through here and give us 3 or 4 days of highs in the 70s. That's just not going to happen. In fact, there's a chance we may have 9 of the next 10 days in the 90s. So, yeah, if you're looking for some true, genuine relief, it's not in the cards right now, I'm afraid. All right. Kelly, I'm with you. Time to call Alaska and get some cold. Yes, please. Yes, please. Francis says, thanks for keeping us informed. Much appreciated. Cox's Creek is hot. I'm sure it is. Well, we appreciate the kind words too, Francis. That's what we're here for. That's our job. And as long as the threat's here, we're watching it. Cooking on a Budget 101 on YouTube. Just joining us. Welcome to the party. Where is the flooding threat and when? So based on what I've seen, and I'll pull up our rainfall forecast map, and the areas I'm most concerned about, you'll see it pretty well once the map loads up here. Just give it a second. There you go. The areas I'm most concerned about are going to be our western counties in Indiana specifically. So where you see these yellows, that's where we could see 2 to 4 inches of rain tonight and into tomorrow morning, okay? Most of us are going to see about a ½ to 1 inch of rain. Won't be a big deal. But the flash flooding risk is going to be isolated, and wherever it occurs, it could be big. You know, you go back the last 3 nights. Thursday night, we had flooding in Washington County, Indiana. New Pekin, Indiana. Did you guys see the video of the trailer going down the river? Yeah, that was big, right? Friday night, we had flooding in the east end of Louisville, J-Town specifically. Not quite as extreme as what happened up in Indiana Thursday night, but there were still plenty of reports of cars getting washed out and things like that. Yesterday in Du Bois County, we saw close to a ½ foot of rain in about 2 or 3 hours. A lot of homes were flooded in Huntingburg, Indiana, in Du Bois County. But that's very isolated. So not everybody's going to have to worry about flooding tonight, but if you do, it could be pretty big. And that's why we're going to keep the alert day in place through at least tomorrow. Well, I'll just say tomorrow at this point. I'm hopeful we can get rid of it by lunchtime tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. So again, we're just kind of hanging out watching radar here. These storms are taking their sweet time to move in. By the way, if you're down in southern Kentucky, if you're down here near Bardstown and Litchfield and Mumfordville, you guys may not see much rain until well after midnight, like 3, maybe 4 a.m. So again, it's going to take a while to get these to move through. Ann says, time to get a faster weatherman. Well, you know what? This is a digital show, which means I am not tied to a 3-minute clock or a 4-minute clock. And there are many people on this platform that want me to stick around with them and watch these storms as they move in because it helps them feel better. It keeps them more comfortable as these storms move in because some struggle with storm anxiety. So if you're looking for fast-paced forecast, watch me tonight at 11 on TV. Because here on the digital side of things, we can take our time to look things over, watch radar, watch these storms move in, and answer questions. This is meant to be interactive, not a presentation. This is meant to be a conversation, not a presentation. So there's that. All right. Quick look at no damage reported from that tornado-warned storm in northern Kentucky, so that's good. And again, the tornado threat here is pretty low. Pretty low. So let's go back and look at these storms in Illinois. They're about to cross into Indiana. There's actually several pockets of storms we need to watch. Here's the main one. Look at all that lightning. Holy cow. That's a ton of lightning moving south of Terre Haute, Indiana right now. And that continues to push south and east. Let's do a storm track on it. Why don't we? This is moving at about 40 miles an hour. So we'll do a storm track like that. There we go. Heading towards Bedford, this cluster of storms by about 9 o'clock, so within an hour. There's other storms nearby Bedford, so don't let your guard down, but I'm talking about this big show that's about to move out of Illinois. Mitchell, Indiana, you guys will start to see that big cluster of storms just after 9 o'clock. Salem, 9:30. And again, that would put it on track to be at Louisville close to 11 if it holds together. So that's where the bulk of the severe thunderstorm warnings are that we'll have to keep an eye on. There are also these clusters of storms that have moved into our counties. There's that cluster of storms about to move towards Freetown along close to Highway 50. Seymour, heads up, probably seeing some dark skies on the horizon. Time to head inside. Another heavy thunderstorm just went through North Vernon. It's about to cross into Jefferson County, Indiana. Not Jefferson County, Kentucky, Indiana. DuPont, going to see some very heavy rain here. Canaan, same story. And that's going to go down Highway 421 towards Madison. So for my friends in Madison that we've already talked to tonight, heads up, we might be seeing some pretty rough weather here in about 15 to 20 minutes as these storms roll on in. So again, we're just kind of checking radars. We go through the next few hours. Show you the big picture view of everything. You can see all of these severe thunderstorm warnings lining up. Of course, you see the yellow box that has the severe thunderstorm warning or watch with it. You see the watch right here, right here. That includes all of our Indiana counties except Perry County. The slight risk, I mean, these guys at the Storm Prediction Center are really good. They're really, really good. You can see the slight risk is drawn out to include central, southern Indiana, stretches down to Louisville, and sure enough, that's where the action is so far tonight. Those guys are incredibly smart down there in Norman, Oklahoma, that issue these severe weather risk maps. Let's talk about the flooding threat in a little more detail. We've talked about how much rain we're going to see. In general, most of us a ½ inch to 1 inch of rain, but somewhere there's going to be areas that see 2 to 4 inches of rain. It's just so hard to nail down exactly where these storms will roll through. So the flood watch is with us for another 24 hours until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Along I-64 up into southern Indiana, down towards Bardstown, Taylorsville, Springfield, and Lebanon, Kentucky as well. As we mentioned, the highest storm chances are overnight tonight into Monday morning through about 8, 9 o'clock. Once we get past 8 or 9 o'clock, we get a break, and then we'll have more storms fire up during the afternoon, but that would be just your typical summertime pop-ups Monday afternoon. So 60 to 80% storm chance through about 9 o'clock in the morning. And then it's just the scattered stuff as we go into Monday afternoon. I think the worst of the flooding risk is going to be tonight and early tomorrow. So as we go into the afternoon, that flood risk should start to subside, and hopefully we can drop the alert day as we head into Monday afternoon as well. Another look at Futurecast. Here's midnight. And again, the models a lot of times are an hour or two too slow. So I think here in Louisville, we could very well see that storm cluster by 11 o'clock. The first storm cluster. But as we go through the night, as one moves out, enter number 2 right here. And as number 2 moves out, enter number 3. So you can kind of see why I'm a little more concerned about our western counties, because they might see several rounds of these heavy thunderstorms overnight tonight. Get towards sunrise in the morning. Here in Louisville, we may be lucky. We may be lucky and not have any heavy rain during the morning rush, but there will be heavy rain nearby. So play it safe. Give yourself an extra 15, 20 minutes heading out the door in the morning, okay? If nothing else, the roads will obviously be wet, and there could be some lingering ponding on the roads from all the heavy rain that we will see tonight. We get past 8 and 9 o'clock, those storm clusters move out, get a little break. It'll be cooler tomorrow, highs in the 80s, thanks to all the cloud cover and the overnight morning rain. And then you notice into the afternoon, a few more of those pop-up storms develop, and those are your typical garden variety, summertime. You know, they pop up, they last for 30, 45 minutes, and they go away. And not everybody would see those as we head into Monday afternoon. And by Monday night, the show is pretty much over. And we'll get a nice few days to dry out. Another look at the rainfall map. broad brush, ½ inch to 1 inch of rain. But there's going to be some spots, especially I think west of Louisville, that could get a quick 2 to 4 inches of rain through tomorrow morning. And that's where that flash flooding risk would be at its highest, it appears. So here's the 10-day, and then we'll go back to radar. I'll go through these graphics since so many people don't want to keep waiting. So the alert day's in place tomorrow. Right now it goes through 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, but I'm hopeful we can get rid of it sooner. And then the middle part of the week, the big story is the heat. Not much rain or storm chances Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but those highs will surge into the mid-90s as a result, with that heat index in the triple digits each afternoon. I do think we'll have plenty of heat advisories as we get towards Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Get into next weekend, more scattered storms. Let's hope it's not as volatile as it has been this weekend, where you get these big clusters. Hopefully it would just be scattered storms, just the pop-up stuff, but we'll see. But again, guys, there's not much of a break from the heat anytime soon. We're still going to have highs in the 80s, or 90s rather, more often than not. Our only day in the 80s right now is tomorrow. And that's it. So that's where things stand on the 10-day. Let me see if there's any questions we can answer. Vicky, this is keeping me calm. See? To all the haters out there, we provide a service. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I was terrified of storms when I was a kid. Scared of them. Couldn't stand them. And now I'm here talking to you guys about storms. Pretty cool, right? Lorene, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it very much. Abby, same to you. Thank you for the kind words. We'll hang out here for a few more minutes, and I'll probably sign off briefly. Hopefully, I can sign off for the night because these storms will weaken. I'll be here, of course, but hopefully we can take a break from the stream because these storms are weakening, and we don't have to worry about as much of a severe threat. We just have to focus on the flooding threat. Hopefully we can take a little break here shortly. But we'll hang out for now. I'll show you the severe thunderstorm watch again. This watch does not include Louisville. This is a southern Indiana issue at this point. You see all the counties in yellow under a severe thunderstorm watch. All of our Indiana counties except Perry. Now, the watch might get extended a tiny bit to include Louisville potentially later this evening. It just depends on how strong these storms are as they get closer to the Ohio River tonight. So there you go. There is radar, and you can kind of see how all these storms are starting to congeal. They're starting to come together as a mixture of clusters and a big line, a little bit of both. You see the tornado warnings continue in northern Kentucky. That is not in our coverage area. I should have set up a live stream, I forgot, of our sister station in Cincinnati, Fox 19 WXIX. You can watch their coverage up there. I meant to set up the stream so we could listen into them, but I forgot, so I apologize. Let's go back into southern Indiana. And you can see, you have to look real close, but you can see that we have a flash flood warning coming out from that bigger cluster of storms there in Indiana. And again, it's not going to take much heavy rain tonight, guys, to cause flash flooding. Not everybody's going to see it, but if you do, it could be pretty heavy. And it will last, or it'll drop a lot of rain in a short amount of time, I should say. So those severe thunderstorm warnings continue for 60-mile-per-hour winds as they cross into Indiana. And again, I think those will be close to Lawrence County and Orange County by the top of the hour, by 9 o'clock. It's just past 8. I think we'll see these storms moving into our counties closer to 9. Having said that, you've got storms ahead of this that have developed through here. And none of these are severe, but you got these heavy storms near Freetown, Indiana, Jackson County. Then you've got this band of heavier storms over DuPont, Indiana, which is right about here. Canaan, Indiana's right here in Jefferson County. Very heavy rain and a good bit of lightning, too. Sounds interesting. I bet it sounds interesting with these storms up there tonight. So, yeah, that's kind of where we are at this point, my friends. We'll hang on here until about 8:15, maybe 8:30. And once we do that, if we don't have any warnings at that time, we'll probably sign off. But you can stay on Wave Weather Now on our 24/7 live stream. You'll get radar updates very frequently. It's in alert day mode, our live stream is, so you can get access to the latest radar, warnings, and storm reports. You can see those scrolling at the bottom of the screen on Wave Weather Now. And obviously, if we do start to get more warnings that come out in our area, then I'll hop back on the stream as needed. But for now, we'll just hang tight here. There's a spammer. Went 45 minutes without one. Courtney and Donnie, anything in Shepherdsville tonight? Definitely. Definitely. Very heavy rain will be the big issue for you guys down there in Bullitt County. But for now, we are dry across central Kentucky. See all of that dry air in place. And again, if you live south of Louisville, you may not see much rain until after midnight, if any. If any. So there's that. Let's see. And what's it possibly like the first week of August? Going back to a hot classroom? Probably. Probably. Again, I don't see much of a huge cool down anytime soon. And, you know, I don't understand why the classrooms are always so hot, but yet they insist on going to school earlier in the year. But it is what it is. Let's see here. Shonda, is somebody going to be here if needed? Yeah, hopefully somebody would come in. I don't think we'll have to worry about that, thankfully. I probably just jinxed myself. But again, the severe threat is secondary tonight. I still think we'll have some gusty storms move in, but the main issue is going to be heavy rain and flooding. So hopefully nobody has to come in on their night off, but we'll see. Misty, do you think the main threat is flooding? I do. I do. Not everybody sees flooding, but if you do, it could be big. It could be big. Kelly, tornado threat all night? No, I do not believe we'll have a tornado threat all night. In fact, I think the tornado threat is starting to wind down. That warning is still holding on. Somebody commented, the warning is still holding on up there in northern Kentucky, but once we lose the heat of the day, that wind threat and that small tornado threat should go with it. And then it's just all about heavy rain and flooding overnight. All right. All right, so it looks like everybody's got their questions answered at this point. Oh, here's one, Austin, good question. Why is lightning more intense in the summer? Quite honestly, it's because there's, the simple answer is there's a lot more instability. That's the simple answer. It's hotter, it's more humid, it's more unstable, and that means more lightning. Cloud to ground lightning as well. So, good question. Joyce wants a good night's sleep with these storms coming in. Yeah, if you like to sleep on stormy nights, this is going to be your night probably. This is going to be your night. Kathy, getting dark in Trimble County. Hear that thunder far off. Yeah, that's from those storms up near Madison. Kathy, so let's zoom in on it. I'll show you. Well, I tell you what, it might be for the storms near Cincinnati too. This whole band really is where you're seeing these dark clouds. See, you're right about here in Bedford. You're looking north, northeast, seeing all of those dark clouds from those storms about to roll in. So, no warnings with that particular portion of the line over Madison, or coming into Madison. Francisco just tuning in. Those storms in southern Indiana, are they tornadic? Not right now, not the ones in Indiana. The only tornadic one nearby is up near Covington in northern Kentucky, and that will not be a problem for us. There might be, yeah, there is one tornado warned storm in Illinois. There you see it in Effingham, Illinois. But again, I do expect the tornado threat to subside as the night goes on. There you see a new severe thunderstorm warning coming out for this main cluster of storms in Indiana. This is for Vincennes, Indiana. See, Davies County, Indiana, Greene County, Knox County, Sullivan County, if you're familiar with that part of the world. They're between Evansville and Bloomington. So these storms continue to march eastward and southeastward. And we will keep watching them as the night goes on. I mean, this is a classic scenario for flash flooding right here. Just a giant, it's just a giant ball of storms that just takes forever to completely clear away. And once you do get a cluster of storms out, here comes another one moving right back in. And this is exactly what we've been concerned about tonight when it comes to the flooding. So yeah, this will have to be watched as it continues to move east over the next few hours. I think for Bedford, Paoli, French Lick, and Jasper, we're going to see those severe storms by probably 9:30. And the main issue would be wind. Again, the tornado threat, very, very low here, thankfully. But we could have a few severe thunderstorm warnings. All right. Bailey says, hey, are the storms weakening as they roll in? Not yet. Not yet, but I do think they will eventually. They will still have a lot of lightning as they move in tonight. They will still have very heavy rain, and that's why heavy rain and flooding is our big concern. But as far as the wind threat, I do believe that will weaken as the night goes on, Bailey. So I hope that answers your question. Brittany says, hi, what about Jeffersonville and Charlestown? Are we good here? You're good for now. You're good for a few more hours. You're good probably until at least 10, maybe 11. And you're right, those storms aren't near you yet, but they're moving your way. They are moving south and east. There's Jeff right there. So you definitely need to keep an eye on these storms as they move in tonight. They could still be severe by the time they get to Jeffersonville. But for now, you're okay. You're good for at least another 2 hours, maybe more. Hope that helps. Shepherdsville, Ireland is asking. It looks like really after midnight for you guys. Midnight to 1 a.m., I think the storms start in Shepherdsville. And they'll continue through the night with heavy rain, mainly. Not much wind after midnight. So that's kind of where we are at this point, guys. I'll hang out for 5 more minutes, and I'm probably going to take a break so I don't lose my voice. And, of course, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be watching the radar all night. And if these storms get dicey, then we'll hop right back on and do another live stream. Okay? So any last-minute questions before we take a break? Ashley's here. How you doing, Ashley? I haven't seen you in a while. Hope all's good. Get off work at 9. Good to go home? Yeah, you're good. Down there in E-Town, right? Yeah, you're fine. Head on home. No problem. Sarah is watching us out in Waddy, Kentucky. Good old Waddy in Shelby County. What's it looking like out there tonight? You're fine in Waddy, Sarah, for several more hours. It's not going to be until close to midnight before storms move into Shelby County. So you're good for the rest of the evening. If you got to run out or just do stuff outside, go for it. You're good until about midnight. Let's see. Todd, so the further north, the more severe. Exactly. Exactly. These storms will, as they move south and east, they're going to weaken from a severe point of view. In other words, they're not going to have as much wind. But they will still have heavy rain and a lot of lightning. And that's why we're going to keep the alert day in place for mainly flooding later on tonight. But as far as the severe risk, Todd, you're right. The further north, the more severe. Exactly right. Tina on YouTube says, thanks, Wave 3. I love how you guys still call it Wave 3. That's what I grew up with, too. But that's cool. Appreciate you watching. Ann says, thanks. Tim says, thanks, of course. Michael watches over in the state capitol. What's it look like for the state capitol? Well, what you're going to have to watch out there would be this activity near Madison, Indiana. Not the tornado-warned part. You don't have to worry about that. But this part near Madison, if it holds on, it's going to dive in to Frankfort especially, maybe closer to 10 o'clock. But it has weakened a tiny bit in the last few minutes. So Frankfort maybe closer to 10. I think slightly further west out in Shelby County, 11 to midnight. That's kind of how it looks at this point. Let's see. Everybody's saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Crispy has a question. A lot of people have asked over the years, why are we not Wave 3 anymore? Well, in this digital age where you guys are using these a lot more than actual TVs, channel numbers aren't as relevant as they used to be, right? You don't turn on the TV to channel 3 anymore. Nobody's done that really for many years unless you have an old school antenna. And when you look up to watch us on Wave Now or Wave Weather Now, you don't look up channel 3, right? So we want that wave branding to be what sticks out to people as we go further and further into this new digital world that we're in. We're still Wave 3, like we are, you know. It's just we say Wave Now. But I'm like a lot of you, it'll always be Wave 3 to me. It's what it was when I was a kid, right? Let's see. Mackenzie up in Henry County, hello. Keep an eye on these storms up near Madison. Let me circle them right here. Good bit of lightning with that thing in Madison, by the way. It'll dive south and east, and if it holds on, Mackenzie, it'll be arriving in Henry County maybe close to 9:30. 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's not severe, but if it does hold on, if it stays strong, it could bring very heavy rain in a short amount of time. So for about another hour, you're good. Then you might want to start watching the radar on the Wave Weather app by then. Appreciate you tuning in. Nicole's got thunder in Madison. No surprise there with that storm rolling on in. Reagan, should I be safe to sleep through the night in J-Town? I'd say so. I don't think this is one of those nights where you want to sleep in the basement or anything like that. It's just going to be a little bit of a loud night with all the thunder. So you might get woken up a few times. If you're a light sleeper, you get woken up by thunder easily, it might kind of be a rough night. But if you like sleeping in thunderstorms, this is definitely going to be your night, for sure. But I do think the severe threat will start to wind down over the next 1 or 2 hours. A couple more questions, and we'll wrap it up. Amy, talking about the big storms, how are they going to affect Jeffersonville? So this is the main area I'm watching. We'll watch these storms, obviously, moving into Seymour and Madison, but it's the stuff out in Illinois crossing into Indiana that has all the warnings with it. For Jeffersonville, I think between 11 and midnight is when that storm chance really goes up. Maybe a little sooner, but around 11 looks to be when storms move into Jeff. All right. Crispy's got a good question. If you look at velocity, or if you look at the wind on the map, on the radar, sometimes these storms have 60-mile-an-hour winds gusts with them, but you look at the radar and it's, excuse me, it's 20, 30 miles per hour. Why is that? A lot of times the Weather Service looks at the kind of like layers of a cake. They look at the layers of the atmosphere. Sometimes, depending on the layer you're looking at, it might be 20 or 30 miles an hour. But others further up will have higher wind speeds. And you also have the wind rushing down to the ground. Once it rushes down to the ground and is already on the ground, radars can't measure that. The folks of the Weather Service go through tons of training, of warning training. It's crazy. They do such a phenomenal job with warnings. I don't know if I could do it, to be honest with you. But that might be why sometimes you don't see 60-mile-per-hour winds on a map. All right, guys, that's going to do it for now. Again, I'm not going anywhere. I'm watching these storms all night. So if something happens, we're going to be here, whether we have to go on TV or if I need to come back here and do another live stream. But for now, no warnings in our area. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch that's still in place for all of our Indiana counties except Perry, Indiana. That goes until 1 a.m. tonight. The severe threat should wind down as we go through the evening. Then we shift our focus solely to heavy rain and flooding. If you absolutely have to be out tonight, if you're a third shift worker, please be careful. As we all know, it's very difficult to see flooding at night. So just take it slow. Everybody, whether you're working tonight or tomorrow morning, give yourself an extra 15, 20 minutes heading to work. Because the roads will probably be a mess overnight and into the morning. So again, we're going to be here throughout the evening watching all these storms as they roll through. No warnings at this time, just the severe thunderstorm watch. If we do continue to get warnings in our area, I will come right back on the stream and watch those warnings with you guys. If not, then I will see you guys again on Wave News at 11 o'clock coming up tonight. Stay weather aware. We're watching it throughout the night. Take care.